All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I think we're live. I apologize for being a little bit late. Just had another prior speaking engagement, talking crypto in this crypto markets. So as always, be here for the next hour, chatting about here to answer trade ideas questions. I'll be here until 1. So make sure you have, and if you have any questions, that you ask away. Something cool that I think Trade Ideas does very well, where we uh, yeah, so I'm here to answer any questions you have about how to use Trade Ideas and all that kind of good stuff. Gotta grab a chart of NVIDIA here because I gotta brag a little bit. I took a short NVDA. And we gotta go into a daily chart here. Eat. All right, so where's the chat? Boom. Mobile screener. Well, you can access Trade Ideas from the web, and if you do that, you can. So this is the web version. Pop on here. You can use this on anything. Right? It's a web-based version, so we don't have an app per se, but this is running on the web. You can load it up on anything that has a HTML browser. So a phone, iPad, a smart fridge, a smart toaster. Whatever it is you need, you can grab it from here. You can go through and take a look. Sava. Oof. Right. You can go to my watch list. You can, add things that you're interested in on your watch list and, play with all the screeners there. We can go into sectors. We can check out what sectors are going, all this stuff. Again, from whatever device is a web browser. For me, I use this all the time on Safari, on my iPhone, and on the on my iPhone, iPad. I do a lot from my iPad actually. So I'm a big iPad guy. I'd love a world where everything I could just do from there. So yeah, that's the biggest way to do that. But yeah, I took a short NVIDIA right off the open, cling, and it's already working a little bit. A little just a hedge on being bullish the market. We talked about this on the podcast. If you're not listening to the podcast, you definitely should do that. It's a good podcast. What else going on? We got a bunch of things popping off, but everything's kind of fading. That's why I always wait in the morning. Oh, TKNO. It's a pullback play. These are just some systems and algorithms that I'm running. TKNO, Pharmaceutical Preparation Company. Interesting. Hi, Michael. I always forget that I can do this. Kabam. Hi, Michael. In one of the videos on the Trade Ideas channels, the most important scanners for scalping the US market, there's supposed to be an updated PDF to scan. Um, I don't. You can email support for that and they'll get to you. I think what we did though, I'm fairly certain. I can't remember. Check the date on a lot of those videos. This YouTube channel's been around for like 20 years. So some of them are going to be old. But what I would do is go to the doc channel bar. And if I'm a scalper, I'm spending most of my time on this explosive winners scan because this is just showing me what the craziest nonsense is out there in real time as it's happening, right? Because um, if you're trading, if you're actively trading, you're scalping, you need something that's moving. You need something that's moving well. Well, that's a good looking chart. 131 RVol. So 131 times normal volume in this QMCO. It's coming right down. We get the 10 MA here. That's an interesting little beast, but I think a lot of it's right here as well. But yeah, I don't have that exact PDF on me. Let me see if I can find this YouTube and Trade Ideas most important scanners for scalping. Ba-da-ba. Oh, that- that's with Bear Bull Trader guys. Um, so yeah, that's on bearbullstrader.com. I was looking at that there. So that was built by them. Can I let me see. Save. I'm doing work for you here. Open with preview. Can I copy that? Oh, I can. Let's see if that works. No, that link doesn't work. So no, you'll have to reach out to them for them. I just skimmed. I didn't watch the whole video. Obviously, I skimmed the video. Um, they're yeah, they're a good little group. Those Bear Bull guys. That Andrew Aziz is he's been doing it for a while for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as always, ask your questions and I shall answer. I'll be here until the top of the hour to answer any questions you guys have about trade ideas. Pretty like with so biotechs have been doing very good today. XBI. We have the SPY not doing much, gapped up and faded so far. Kind of led by this Nvidia move down. For those who didn't watch the podcast and don't know why I actually bought NVDS, which is a bullish bullish version of Nvidia. A inverse Nvidia. So Nvidia go down, this go up. There we go. It's a good way to get my brain my brain wrapped around it. The idea was just simply the reaction to earnings, right? We had earnings right here. And then this was reaction earnings where basically nothing happened. And if you looked at the earnings, which I didn't look at the earnings, but um, the from what I heard from the internets is that it was good. They beat top line, they beat bottom line, guidance was good, everything was good, everyone was happy. They were loving lives. Uh, and then it sold. So generally speaking, anyone who knows me, anyone who's followed me on my own YouTube channel or Twitter or any of those things, knows that my idea is that the news doesn't matter. It's the reaction to the news. If you have good news and the stock sells, or you have bad news and the stock rallies, that's information. If the stock goes up on good news, it's like okay. If stock goes down on bad news, it's like whatever. But if you go up and the news is bad, or you go down and the news is good, it's like okay, well that's something, right? That's something that I need to focus a little bit on. And in this case, it didn't not like it tanked, but with how good the news was, the fact that it faked out this all-time highs and then sold, that's what was interesting to me on Nvidia. And as someone who has a overall long portfolio and is overall bullish the market, because we're in a bull market, you kind of have to be bullish in a bull market. I am um I want to hedge, right? So that's the main reason that I did it. So I can buy some of this, and I bought some at 27 bucks. So that if the market pulls back, led by Nvidia, then that's great. And the idea is that I want to be able to have this hopefully go down and have some of the stuff that I own go up. That'd be a perfect scenario. But if the whole market's going to take a little bit of a break or a pullback here, then Nvidia kind of pulls back into I don't know 32 or 33. That's just a good little hedge on trades, right? Hedging is one of those things that you certainly don't have to hedge, um, but it helps to hedge, right? It helps to kind of make you feel a little bit better. Put some um, trade around an overall bullish type position, right? It's probably hard to find because I was a little bit late today. I just had another engagement that lasted a little bit longer than it should have. So other than that, we can take a look here. This is how I normally look at the market. These are all the up sectors. These are my down sectors. I try to get a kind of a theme of what's going on. So, right. So we have uranium, gold, and silver down. We have natural gas, home builders, solar up. And overall, we have the SP 500 not really moving. We have ARC up, which is very interesting. Zoom is zooming. Just looking at the things that are in ARC. Tesla's down a little bit, but this overall still a very bullish chart overall here. Ba, 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 ba. So 30 minutes remaining if anyone has any questions. XRT real retail moving up. GameStop moving a bit. That could be the retail move. So we have GameStop. Let's do RSP. Okay, so RSP is a little different. So this is a chart that I love to look at. So S&P 500 is the 500 of the largest names when it comes to the US. 500 of the largest names, and it weights them based on how big those names are. So Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, Meta, these big names that we all know are going to move the S&P 500 way more than the little guys, right? That 500th name could be having a wicked day or a crappy day. It's not going to move the market very much. That top name, which right now is Nvidia or Apple, I think it kind of switches back and forth. That's going to have a much larger weighting and a much larger effect of the S&P 500, right? Just the way that works. Now, RSP is the same 500 names in the S&P 500, but it removes that weighting factor where it's no longer giving more credence and more power to the bigger names and less power to the smaller names. It's doing so evenly. So that 500 smallest name has just as much of effect as that one largest name. So what ends up happening is the RSP, and there's equal weighted for all of them. There's QQQE for the NASDAQ. There is, I think the IWM is already equal weighted. There's a bunch of those. And what's happening is when you compare these two charts, right? SP 500 is basically flat on the day. RSP is up on the day. That shows that we are the overall stock market, each individual stock name is doing fine. It's just that the big guys are weighing down the index where the little guys are doing perfectly okay. And that's why we're seeing a lot of sectors up and all that kind of stuff, even when these things are not. So what's your thoughts on all-time highs and how to manage that? Well, you see a lot of all-time highs in a bull market. And so we're continuing to see all-time highs in a bull market that's about 2 years old. Trailing stops, right? If something's at all-time highs, great, right? RSP is at all-time highs, which means the average stock in the S&P 500, if that's hitting all-time highs, that's great. Right? This is why I'm not a big fan of targets. I'm more of a fan of trailing stops because I just want to allow things to move. I want to allow things to trend when they do, right? Hello, Mike C. Mohammed, with the Market Explorer Trade Wave Daily, is there an entry point or more or less when it shows up in the window? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty much when it's just there's not entry or exit points on any of this. It's just saying, hey, this TMHC had a recent buy ticket right here. So if you like it, I would always combine something like an indicator like Trade Wave with just thinking, right? And some sort of technical analysis, right? So this TMHC is interesting. Now it's hitting this prior high that could struggle as well, but turn looking like it's going to buy. So it's basically just saying these things are pushing. These things are pushing higher, right? So they're having that turn, and we can go all the way down because it's sorted by how high up it is in its 52-week range. So if we look at URGN, right? This one had Ugreen Pharma, right? So this one's kind of a revision to the mean type play. But you can see the last time it had a buy tag, just failed immediately. So In this case, maybe you'd say, oh, well, I'm going to wait till it gets over this high right here or something like that. But it's just telling you that there's a recent buy tag in the trade wave indicator. Is there any way to get the volume columns in TI to have um, commas in the TI strategy? Yeah, they can change that. So you have to email in. There's no way you can do it. But yeah, it does have columns. So these average commas. What am I missing? Is there a way to have the volume column to have commas in the TI strength strategy market explorer? Yeah, I see commas. Now there's an average volume setting, but maybe I'm missing something. Right, 4 million, blah blah blah. Maybe you have it too small. Maybe that's what's happening. Where this is now 1.2. Maybe that's happening. But yeah, if you open it up, I see commas here. If you don't, I would reach out to support because that's weird. How do I set up filters? Just grab any scan you want, right click, and hit configure. And then you'll see all of the filters here. Decide which filter you want to do. And then remember, we just use a min and a max system, right? So if you want the price to be more than $1 in the min column, you'll put $1. If you want the price to be less than $100 in the max column, you put 100. And every filter works the same way, just like a binary kind of min max feature or functionality. Where's the chat? There's the chat. Duh, got lost. Yeah, sure. So you just find whatever scan you want to add or remove filters to. Right click, and then they'll be configured. Now, just a pro tip for trade ideas. Pretty much everything within trade ideas functions off the same thing, right? So for the chart, right, if I right click in the middle of it, here's all the settings. If I right click in the middle of this Mark Explorer window. Those are the settings. So if I right click in the middle of this window right here, there's all these settings, and then I'll just hit configure. And this will open up this box right here where I can then go all of the, I can add or remove whatever you want. And again, it works. All filters work on a min max system, which essentially just means, um, right? Use change from the close. We use that as another example. So if I want stocks that are up more than 1% from yesterday's close, I would go change from the close, minimum 1, right? Up more than 1% from yesterday's close. If I wanted stocks that were up or say down 1% from negative close under the max column, I'd say I don't want them, right? It's the opposite. So those would be -1. I don't want them up any more than -1% from yesterday's close. And that is, how the whole system, um, that's how the whole system works, right? And yeah, so just kind of keep that in mind. It takes a little bit to get your head around, but once you do, it's fine. It's just that's how the whole system will work, right? They'll all have that min max idea. And then that whole right click thing, that's the key. If in doubt, like right click on something, and that will give you your options for kind of what you should play with and when and all of that kind of stuff. When it comes to trade ideas, that right click is the key. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we got another 15 minutes. So make sure you're asking any questions you can come across. IBIT. So I got IBIT. We got Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin's pulling back here. ETHE. So we're getting a little bit of a divergence there, right? Where we have ETH, BTC. Yeah, the ETH BTC ratio starting to pop up a little bit here. I don't know. Maybe it's, as the kids call it, altcoin season is on its way. As the boys and girls, the young hip kids call it. So of course, I am both young and hip. Yeah. Ethereum versus Bitcoin doing the old switcheroo. Wild. Scholar Rock Holding Company. MSTR must be pooping, eh? MSTR. It's not that bad. Considering. Yeah, this poor Sava. I was just reading the news on it here. So they failed their drug tests. And I guess this is all the company has is this one drug that just failed. So that company is dunzo. This is one of those I know a lot of people were just, oh, it's huge. It's got a huge short float, therefore I should buy it. I mean, over and over and over again. Right? The one takeaway is price trumps everything. If it's got a huge short float, it's probably because it's a crap company. And now, if they pass phase 3, look out above. But that's the gamble you're taking, right? If you want to create your own filter as opposed to just setting one up, you would do that, and I can find a video for you. You just go under Tools and Formula Editor, and you find everything there. Tools and Formula Editor. If you're looking to build your own formula, um, and I would click on this little Help button down here because this will get you all the documentation that you need. No, that didn't get what you need at all. We can just go trade ideas, custom formula. Yeah. I would read through this first just to know what it is you can and cannot do with the formula editor. It's not a panacea. Right? This will just teach you how to use this one. It's now you're getting a little bit more complex. Um, you said you just joined. To be honest, I would play with the formulas that we have just by hitting right click and configure, and you can go search, and you can see all the formulas we have there. When you've exhausted this list and there's something else you want to pop into, you can certainly do that then. But I would just, that's kind of like step 7, right? Step 1 would be to use the formulas that we have, that you currently have access to, and go from there. Yeah, so the whole like custom formula, create your own filter, right? That's again, you can do it, and that will show you how to do it. Just know that that's the more advanced part of the system, and right, you want to make sure that you're not, don't put the cart before the horse, right? We have hundreds of filters built in that you just go to any alert window or top list, and you right click and hit configure, and you can go under search, and you can just see all these. So I would try all these first, right? If you go to price for volume today, add filter, you can do all that stuff. I would highly recommend kind of exhausting what you have access to first, and then if there's something there that you really need that you don't have, then you can kind of play with that. It's just more advanced. So it's one of those, right? The whole walk before you run kind of deal. Hey, boys and girls, 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes before Q&A is over and Barry's back. So ask any questions you may need. Question about the money machine. Watch the simulated video. Identifying long short opportunities. Beginning the move because it resets the percentage change after each race. And the tree map doesn't reset in the same way. I was thinking if there was an option to test the money machine in simulated trading mode based on the biggest gainers. I think they're going to test it on everything, I think is the answer to that, right? They're just, right? Um, and understand that testing is not real life trading, right? So before you get kind of too excited one way or the other, I would wait for the tests to be occurred on simulated mode, and they're going to test it on all kinds of settings and all kinds of different things, and try to figure out what's best. But it's going to be to the user's risk management and all of that. And then they're going to go into live trading, because the real test with the money machine is if how much slippage is going to hurt it. Right? It's not a question of if slippage is going to hurt it. Slippage will definitely hurt it. The question is by how much, right? The That's going to be the real test. I think all of these kind of minutia of whether it's a top list or a race or what it is, that can just be iterated on and dealt with over time. The slippage is going to be um, the slippage is going to be the big deal. Now, for the question of the more open positions on one versus the other, it's just taking the top three of both. So it shouldn't matter number of positions. The question is, because in back test, the thing that is the most active is going to test the best, but it's not accounting for slippage, right? So sometimes being less active is going to perform the best in the real world, because you're not going to get chopped up as much when it comes to slippage. So it's a very interesting question, but again, it's one that I believe you should definitely make sure that your understanding is that we don't have to go hard on it. You have to just wait, right? That's the only thing that I would kind of really implore people with this, is that uh, uh, you know you can build something that looks great, and you can do it with anything. You can build something that looks amazing in backtest. The question is always, when I take this thing to real life, how is it going to perform? Right. And when it comes to the the money machine, the Achilles heel of this, which and anyone who's traded for any length of time definitely knows, will be what are your fills looking like, right? And that's the thing that really has to be tested. Whether it's 15 minutes or the 30 minutes or the day long or whatever. Uh, I'm the data that we're getting right now isn't good enough for me personally, right? I wouldn't put my money in it personally right now. Now, if it tests well, then yes, right? And then the question you have to so then there's like so when we're testing with real money, that opens up a whole bunch of questions, right? How important is liquidity, right? Because if you're going after things that are trading millions and millions and millions of shares a day, like the craziest movers out there, liquidity will be less of a concern. Volatility will then be way more of a concern because you have a stock that's doubling intraday and then get cutting in half and doubling again. That's going to be a big problem on a volatility standpoint, but a lower problem on a liquidity standpoint, and vice versa, right? So, right, it's one of those that as we test, the testing will give the answers as opposed to trying to figure out now, especially testing in a paper environment, right? So I wouldn't concern yourself too much with those questions until and I know they're working on it until it's set up in a live type of environment and we're starting to see what those fills in and what those fills out and all of those things look like, right? Then we'll have more of those answers because then certain top lists may work better because they're either more active or less active or more interesting or less interesting or more liquid or less liquid. All of these different things are going to very much matter way more than looking at something in test where again we are trying our best to try to figure out what the edge will be and exploiting that edge. Again, that's my thing behind that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is time. If you have any more questions, you can go back to the main room. You can email info@trade-ideas.com, and I'll talk to you guys soon.